Welcome to Barney's resource-based view of the firm model by Paul Dabney, Dante Sanders, and Tiffany Toe. To begin, we will look at an early theory of resource-based views by Edith Penrose. A firm is more than an administrative unit. It is also a collection of productive resources, the disposal of which between different users and over time is determined by administrative decision. When we regard the function of the private business, firms from this point of, the size of the firm is best gauged by some measure of the productive resource it employs. Edith Penrose is a British economist best known for the theory of the growth of the firm. Penrose provided an early theory of the resource-based view that effective management of firm resources, productive opportunities, and diversification strategies are ways to achieve competitive advantages. The modern theory of the resource-based view of the firm is accredited to Barney. He is known as the father of this view. He is currently a presidential professor of strategic management of social entrepreneurship at the University of Utah. His research focuses on the relationship between costly-to-copy firm skills, capabilities, and sustained competitive advantages. His consulting work focuses on large-scale organizational change and strategic analysis. His modern theory suggests there can be firm-level differences among firms that allow some to gain competitive advantages. Firm managers are responsible for finding a competitive advantage by identifying, developing, and implementing key resources to maximize returns. Competitive advantage is when a firm acquires or develops resources that allows it to outperform its competitors. A firm is said to have competitive advantage once it begins to implement a value-creating strategy that is not currently being used by any other firm in its market. Successful strategies will allow a firm to see superior returns on its products or services. These advantages come through cost leadership, in which a firm offers the lowest cost for a product in the market. It can also come from innovation, in which a firm introduces newer or better products to customers. Or it can be achieved from technology-based advantages, in which a firm has technology that others do not. Barney's theory is that a firm's competitive advantage is gained by a set of unique organizational resources. These resources are only unique if they have all four indicators of competitive advantage. Resources have to meet the VRIN standards. VRIN stands for valuable, rare, imperfectly imitable, and non-substitutability. If any one of these indicators cannot be obtained in the resource, then it does not create a competitive advantage for the firm. Valuable. This is a resource that enables a firm to conceive or implement strategies that improve its efficiency or effectiveness. A resource must enable a firm to employ a value-creating strategy by either outperforming its competitors or reducing its own weaknesses. A resource is valuable if the investment into it is less than the future discount rents. For a resource to be valuable, it also has to be a source of greater value in terms of relative costs and benefits than similar resources in competing firms. Rare. These are resources that are valuable to a firm that are not possessed by other competing firms. Rareness implies that the resource must be rare in the sense that it is scarce relative to demand for its use or what it produces. Rare resources can be knowledge-based, such as having employees with specific know-how. These can be highly skilled and trained human resources that have dynamic strategies or innovative ideas for new products. Rare resources can also come from advanced technology that competitors do not have access to. These technologies can be things such as new robotics or information technology systems, production systems that make products faster than any competition or other technology. They can also come from having access to rare materials that are needed in production. Having access to rare materials such as oil, iron, and other materials can give a company competitive advantage in production. Imperfectly imitable. These are resources that are impossible or extremely costly or difficult for other firms to duplicate. If a valuable resource is controlled by only one firm, it could be a source of competitive advantage. An example of this is the U.S. military having defensive technologies that may help us be far more superior than some other countries around the world. An important factor in immutability is ambiguity. This occurs if the source in which a firm's competitive advantage stems from is unknown. Being imperfectly immutable is what allows a firm to have sustained competitive advantage over time. Non-substitutable. These are products that can add value, be rare, and be imperfectly immutable, but there must not be products that can be substituted for it. If competitors are able to counter the firm's creative value creating strategy with a substitute, prices are driven down to the point that the price equals the discounted future rents, resulting in zero economic profits. In this picture, this is an example of substitutable items. If the price of Coca-Cola will rise, people will consume less Coke and substitute it for Pepsi. If a product can be easily substituted with another product, there is no competitive advantage for the firm. Complications with VRIN are that resources are hard to find because it takes a resource having all four of the indicators to give a firm a competitive advantage. It becomes complicated to find resources that meet the VRIN standards because firms are beginning to have access to the same resources. For example, even if a firm has an imperfectly immutable product, other firms begin to develop ways to substitute for their products. Most technologies are available to all competitors in the industry and do not produce long-term competitive advantage. A firm must have all four indicators to give a firm sustainable competitive advantage. Recent developments. A firm can stay ahead of its imitators and earn superior returns if it can begin developing capabilities based on the sequences of path-dependent learning. Most firms have the capacity to place themselves on a learning curve to keep competitors behind. Staying ahead of competitors can be done by taking the path to sustain first mover advantage. This is when a firm is the first to move in on an untouched market. They have the advantage of being the first and being able to develop the market until others move in. They can also take the path to non-substitutable resources and products. Taking this path allows them to sustain advantage by being the only ones in the market since there are no substitutes available. Firms can also build competitive advantage by building on their asymmetries. These are things such as skills for the employees, which comes with training highly skilled employees, giving a competitive advantage. Or this can be processes used to produce products or the assets that the firm is invested in. Thank you for viewing our presentation on Barney's resource-based view of the firm.